this team, when we looked at how they, quote-unquote, retooled, as Chris Arnold liked to put it during the offseason, and you thought, well, maybe based on the decisions that they've made, they'll be validated by some of the success that they weren't able to have ultimately when they lost to San Francisco last year. And in some ways, they were validated. 2 specific examples. La'el Collins. Okay, you moved on from him. You allowed Terrence Steele to really take over as your full-time right tackle. And Terrence Steele, especially in the run game, was excellent this year before tearing his ACL.
And La'el Collins was not very good.
No,
I was hoping that you would.
No, he wasn't good.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't good. And then Randy Gregory. Now, you say, Kevin, this is also the same team, though, in the Cowboys that was willing to give Randy Gregory the $70 million ultimately that he got from Denver. But they didn't. And they were validated in a way because Dorrance Armstrong had a career year this year, nearly 9 sacks for the Dallas Cowboys. So in some ways, they were validated in some of the decisions that they make. I don't know if they could take some of those same risks this offseason, given some of the guys that were real contributors to this team, the Leighton Vander Esch's of the world, the Tony Pollards, whomever you want to name. There are guys that you'll need to bring back, but also needs that you'll need to address in the draft. And for me, it's about getting another playmaker alongside CeeDee Lamb, because that was the glaring weakness in the game against San Francisco, was the lack of playmaking outside of CeeDee Lamb, especially once Tony Pollard got hurt in that game.
I think that's the obvious one, right? That's the one that everybody, Babe Laufenberg, of course, did some of our work for us. Thanks to Babe for stopping by unintentionally, but also jumping on the show. Wide receivers a necessity. Hey, man, you just brought Eugene Hilton off of the street. And
oh, man.
And to be one of your 3 starting wide receivers, because Semi Fehoko still was not really a factor.
Jalen Tolbert this year.
Failure to launch on the tarmac, right? Like, and I don't know how I can, kind of forecast that forward, because I haven't seen any development. Like, we don't get the benefit of seeing that throughout the season and whatever it may or may not be there. So I can't project that one of those guys is going to take hold of one of your 3 starter spots on the field, one of the ones that you take, a lot of value in. And on top of that, right, it's not even just being on the field. You need somebody who's going to be productive. Now, obviously, you hope Michael Gallup will go back to being the Michael Gallup that you anticipated before you gave him money. We don't have to talk about that. But you need another wide receiver, and you need another guy who will make plays, who will be somebody that you have to consider, even if it's not a number 1 wide receiver, even though me and you have some thoughts on that, and I think we'll talk about that later in the week. Wide receiver feels like a must.
Well, here's what's interesting about that conversation, too, and this comes from Austin Gale, who works for The Ringer. The Cowboys' top pass catchers in total target EPA after CeeDee Lamb, guess who it was?
Dalton Schultz?
No.
Oh, EPA. Oh, okay, efficiency. Was that Noah?
No.
Okay. Now I'm just guessing at this point. Was it Ferguson?
Jake Ferguson was one of them. He was the He was the third.
And then second was, don't tell me it was Hendershot.
No.
Okay. Tony Pollard?
Mm-mm.
Oh, my goodness.
He was after Ferguson.
Am I missing somebody?
Yeah. Let's try T.Y. Hilton.
Didn't he get like 2 catches? I know that's not literally. Well, actually, let me go check, because it feels like he had 2 catches, which was kind of something I was thinking about over this last week or so. Isn't
that crazy?
Even after the division, after he had the big play that everybody's like, oh man, this is gonna work. He was not really somebody that factored in a ton, and I wonder how much the
Tennessee game, he was terrific on 3rd down. I remember he had, I think, 3 conversions in that game alone on 3rd down. He was great in that respect there.
We talk about that T.Y. Hilton's, the seam route where it was thrown to where CD was covered by Fred Warner. And hey, man, he's open. And I wonder how much of that is Dak does not have a rapport because he was not there all season, which I don't know that I can blame any of them for. But I was just like, yo, that's tough. And I don't know. Are you anticipating bringing T.Y. Hilton back? I can't imagine that. So, yeah, I think you need to figure out what you've got in another place. And I don't think Noah Brown is going to be that dude. No shade to Noah Brown. I think he is firmly slotted as that additional wide receiver that can help fill in.
That's crazy. That's your top 3 in terms of total EPA on targets for the Cowboys this year. Were CeeDee Lamb, T.Y. Hilton, and Jake Ferguson. That's crazy.
Well, the Ferguson point makes you feel good about the fact that you have a couple of young guys that can fill in at tight end. So I don't think that ends up being a need.
Speaking of the tight ends, guess who was dead last?
Don't tell me Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz was dead last.
Okay. I said don't tell me. Anyways.
You're welcome.
All right, wide receiver is there. I don't think we're going to put tight end there. Needs, fellas. Medford, you got one? What are we doing?
Oh, boy. Yeah, you got one? Because I went with the pass catcher.
I feel like pass catcher is the most glaring need because being the nature of the Dallas Cowboys, everything's going to fall on the offense for the most part, especially with how everything's been so consistent.
And of course, we're not only talking draft. I think also just like what do you need, and then you can address it in various ways. But obviously, draft comes in.
Yeah, and I think there's a few areas that you could look outside of pass catcher that maybe aren't as glaring, but you could say, man, that would really help. If you're Eric Chiafalo, you really need another corner.
Opposite of Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, opposite of Trayvon Diggs.
Yes.
And I think that's where I would focus my draft capital in day 1, day 2. Is trying to find trying to find that corner. That's where I'm looking right now, and I'm going to start watching these guys here probably at the end of the week. And
you getting into it too?
Yeah,
have you tapped in with Broadus yet?
I'm going to.
I'm going to do it right now. Send him a text.
He's at dinner with their auction winner.
Okay.
So I'm gonna leave
that's why they're at Pecan Lodge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the
cool.
Swinging for a Cause event.
Send him a text.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with him. Broadus is my guy, but
as soon as you turn off the mic after the statement, send him a text.
Okay, I will send him a text.
So demanding. Wow. You talking about me?
Is it for me?
I'm just saying.
Am I demanding he do it for my benefit?
I mean, just so demanding. Let him make that choice.
Does the couch have 3 spaces? Sounds like we need it. But yeah,
why did we both look at the couch?
I don't know.
What is wrong with this? We both literally turned our heads and looked at that couch right behind us. By the way, defensive tackle. Defensive tackle is where I'm going next.
You not bringing Hankins back?
I would love to bring him back.
Another one in addition to that.
Yeah.
So like Carlos Watkins, thanks for your service. However.
Yeah.
Okay.
I raise you one, Deron Payne.
Oh, he is a free agent, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. He's gonna get a bag.
Yeah.
Let me know if let me know if you think I'm wilding when I talk about like this is a potential need.
No, 650. I've never played defensive tackle, and I know I'm not related to Tyler Smith. You're welcome.
But if we're gonna talk about offensive line, dog, like you invested at that left tackle spot, right? Mm-hmm. Or I guess your left guard spot in anticipation for what could happen.
Connor McGovern's a free agent.
But that's there.
Yeah.
So your depth is weakened. You just had I mean, obviously Tyron Smith is who Tyron Smith is, so he has the potential to miss time. And
yeah, you can pencil in 4 or 5 games.
I mean, Zach Martin is incredible, but also aging. Like, is that something where you look and you go, we might need to invest in that in some way? Or are you just like, it's fine, it'll hold up in the way that it is, we have other needs to address?
Because that, to me, I think is going to be one of the more fascinating storylines this offseason is what the Cowboys decide to do from an offensive line standpoint. Because you mentioned with Tyron Smith now back, Tyler Smith emerging as your left tackle, what do you do? Because with Terrence Steele, hopefully coming back, and resuming his right tackle spot, you've got some depth there that you can try to figure out what to do with. Do you kick Tyler Smith inside the left guard if you let McGovern go and then reinsert, Tyron Smith back as your left tackle? There's a lot of, I think, interesting decisions that will have to be made along the offensive line as well there. But yeah, I would go, for me, in terms of need, I would go pass catcher, defensive tackle, and then corner. Because I would love to see, maybe you got something with this whole Israel Mukuamu thing.
Corner, you want to move him back to corner?
Or I mean, that's where he naturally was before they tried to move him to safety.
And you have a lot of safety help, assuming that one of those guys doesn't leave.
Between Curse and Hooker. I know Hooker, I believe Hooker's one of your free agents, so if I remember correctly. But you've got some depth there, and maybe you figure out what to do there. But yeah, I would love to see maybe Mukuamu get a chance. Because Deron Bland, I believe, is going to be your slot guy. Because Anthony Brown's your free agent. I don't expect him to be back.
Where's Jordan Lewis?
Jordan Lewis is still under contract, so he's going to be coming back from the Liz Frank injury.
Oh, do you feel like moving him out to the outside is something that you're fine with? Because it seemed like every time you had like 3 seasons where you were like, Jordan Lewis is going to compete for one of these outside jobs, and other dudes kept beating him to it, and he kept being on the inside.
I mean, I think
unless you decide Deron Bland goes outside.
Yeah, that would be where I would go.
Okay,
I think ultimately Lewis be back in the slot and then move maybe Deron Bland to the outside, and maybe make Mukuamu maybe your nickel corner.
Yeah, and they did like playing some of that big nickel this past season.
Yeah,
especially late in the season.
So you got options there.
Obviously, running back I think is something you need to address in some way. I don't know exactly how you address it because that depends on what happens with, are you actually bringing back Tony Pollard? Do you renegotiate Ezekiel Elliott or do you get him out of here, right? That'll make a difference in how you do it. But I mean, you cannot neglect the fact that it seems like you're losing some of the value that you were getting, or the performance rather you were getting from Ezekiel Elliott, without talking about the contract situation. Even if you just talk about on the field, as that season goes along, you're losing some of what you need, and an injury can put you in a place where now you feel like your running game is subpar.
An 858 Terrence Steele tore his ACL, not the Achilles. Just to make sure you're clear on that. But yeah, they've got some needs. Some roster changes going to be coming this offseason.
That kicker? Okay.
We're not going to do that right now.
Oh, we're not?
Yeah, we're not going to do that
Mr.
Right now.
I was making a kicker joke in segment 1 is not doing it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can't do that right now.
All right.
I'm glad you brought it up, though. It's a great, excellent point. Can't do
I thought this was the place to do it if you was going to do it. But it's cool.
I can't do it right now. Can't do it.